Welcome everyone to another in our series of videos on the Kanban guide. The most important person of our crew, she got sick of listening to us talk, so she had to leave, and I can't say as I blame her.
Yeah, she made quite a bit of noise about it and left.
So, but we still have with us Pratik Singh, and in this video, Pratik, we're going to be talking about the second practice of Kanban, not that there's a particular order, but the second practice of Kanban, which is actively managing items in a workflow. This is a softball question for you, but what is the most important aspect when we're talking about actively managing items in a workflow?
Yeah, not just about actively managing workflow, even just with Kanban in general. The whole idea is to control this one thing, which is the age of items, how much items are aging, how much time has been spent working on something since it entered the system and it hasn't exited yet. What are all the things that we can do to control the age of an item?
Or at least influence. I mean, remember, Kanban's all about flow, and flow is all about movement. So if you have an item that is just kind of sitting there stuck or not moving in your process, that's the antithesis of flow. And the best barometer that you have to know whether that is happening or not is aging. Which, by the way, if you're not familiar with aging, there will be a video on metrics a little bit later in this playlist. So maybe you could go skip ahead to watch that one and come back if you're not familiar with age. Okay, so aging informs where items really aren't flowing, but I mean, okay, so what do I do? Okay, so what? An item is aging.
Yeah, there are multiple things we can do, two of which are very explicitly mentioned in the Kanban guide. First of which is controlling work in progress. The guide will not tell you how to do it, but it will tell you that you need to control work in progress. If you limit the amount of work that is in your system, you will most likely be able to control the age of those items. Yeah. Why do I say most likely, Dan?
Funny, you should hand it over to me. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best strategies that we have in terms of trying to control or trying to influence aging is the number of items that we're working on at any given time. There's a whole bunch of theory. We can start spotting about Little's law and things like that. We won't get into any of that here, but just know that that's one of the levers that we can pull. It's not going to guarantee. Just because you're working on less doesn't necessarily mean that items are going to take less time, but there's a decent chance, and that's one of the better places to start. If you're working on 20 things at a time, maybe try working on 10, or even better 5, or even better 2. So controlling work in progress. Then the next one, Pratik.
Yeah, the second one that the guide explicitly mentions is service level expectation, is the SLE. We talked a little bit about this. If you're watching this in order, we talked a little bit about this in a definition of workflow video as well. And that is a forecast on how long something should take. And anything that enters our system, how long should it remain in the system before it exits? It's a probabilistic forecast. It is not a deterministic forecast. And that's the form it takes. It takes a form of how much time do we expect something to take in the system with what probability.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the critical question we need to be asking is, if we started this video by saying age is the most important thing to look at, but just by the physics of how things work, when you start working on something, it's going to age. So aging in and of itself is not a bad thing. What we really need to understand is, well, how much age is too much age? How much age is to the point where flow is not happening? And that's where the SLE comes in. The SLE, that forecast, is going to be your expectation of how long it should take items to flow through your process. A couple other things that maybe we should just kind of mention that the guide talks about, and go from there.
Yeah, a couple of other things that would help you constrain aging, or at least prevent items from aging unnecessarily. It would be things like, how do we deal with blockers? Something's blocked, by definition it's not flowing. How do we deal with that? Can we pair, mob, swarm on things to move them forward more effectively? Can we split items up? That's a common one where folks believe that because something is started in as a unit of value, we cannot split it up further. Absolutely, something started, you can split it up. So what are all those interventions that we can take when something has started aging to limit how much it ages, when, especially when measured against that SLE?
Yeah, we were spending a lot of time on this video because, as you can imagine, this is probably, if I had to pick, and I think you would pick too, the most important of the Kanban practices. Most people think Kanban's all about we're just going to visualize our work and control work in progress and we're done. No. It's a participation sport. It's a contact sport, right? I mean, you can't just expect your Kanban system to manage itself. There's going to be active intervention that you and your team or your organization is going to need to take every single day to make sure that we are balancing those three constraints that we talked about in an earlier video. Anything else to add to sum up, Pratik?
No, that's it. Yeah, you actively manage the stuff. It doesn't get managed by itself. And the things that we've talked about here, the brief introduction we've given into things here, that is the way you usually do it.
So that's it. We'll give our usual spiel. You want to, please make sure you go read about this in the Kanban guide. Go to prokanban.org for more information. Thank you for watching this, and we will see you in the next episode.
Okay.